Welcome to Thinking Green. I'm Rana, and continuing with this month of antidote to partisan politics that we went through in October and the very earliest part of November. My guests tonight are Hannah Gant and Erica Andrews, also known as Maple, who are doing some really interesting, uplifting stuff in New London. Related to Spark Makerspace, which you might have read a little bit about in the paper, and a few other projects as well that are also exciting. So welcome both of you.
Thank you, Rana.
Thank you.
I guess maybe Hannah, you can start and talk about where you've been, what you've done, and how you came not just to New London, but to getting started in this sort of project here.
Yeah, I think before I dive into that question, I just want to tell everyone what a makerspace is, so they're really
that sounds like a good idea.
Grounded in that understanding, and introduce what we're doing with ReInspire as well. So there are lots of makerspaces now all over the country, and kind of like a maker movement, and it's kind of like a community center with tools where people pay a gym-like membership and have access to shared workshops. So Spark is opening up in the old Elegy building at 86 Golden Street in downtown New London, kind of with a soft opening, we're thinking in January. So we're currently in build-out of this space, which is about 5,000 square feet. We're constructing a wall separating kind of the back shop from the front space, which includes a commercial kitchen. And so that back space is going to have like a substantial wood shop.
Wow.
We'll have kind of stations for electronics, 3D printing, digital media lab, screen printing, textiles, sewing machines. Of course, this commercial kitchen has really also been a real boon. That's something that the LNG building had after it was closed and rehabbed before
Right.
We came into it. So these community maker spaces are really popping up all over the place for people to have access to tools and equipment that they might not have access to in their home because they're too expensive. They're too big, they don't use them very often. And part of the real kind of magic of these makerspaces is the collaboration that happens, and the skill sharing and the resource building.
Well, it is interesting to me. A couple weeks ago, Majora Carter was at Conn College.
Oh, was she? I didn't know
yes, the Student Environmental Club had invited her, the Eco Club, and it was not well publicized in the greater community, which was a shame. But she talked about maker spaces, not in detail, but mentioned them several times as one means to bring wealth to a community without gentrifying it. And of course, that is a big topic in New London in general. So it's nice to hear that New London is getting a dose of the same kind of wealth coming in that isn't the kind that displaces people.
Well, what a beautiful segue back to your initial question of like, what's my story and why am I here and why am I doing this? So, because for me, it is intimately wrapped up in trying to initiate projects that really help us recognize the wealth that we possess as individuals in a community that is non-financial, that we can really, if we can come together, start to work together in a new way that's really generative, build our skills and capacities, then we can start to like create our own opportunities and directly take care of ourselves. So I'm an entrepreneur. I'm actually from Washington State, but I came out to Connecticut for college. I went to Trinity and graduated in 2003. And lived in the Bay Area and in Mexico, and I came back in 2007 and lived in Hartford for a long time, and I kind of managed farmers markets, and I was a cheesemaker, and I had a farm business, and that's actually how Maple and I met, is that we were both farmers. So Maple is also an entrepreneur, and over time I kind of realized I'm not really like I'm not a farmer, ultimately. I'm more of an entrepreneur, but I really like working with groups of people to start businesses. And so I've kind of gravitated into this like identity as like a civic entrepreneur, where I don't really want to start my own businesses. I want to help groups of people start businesses that have like tremendous impact in the community. Almost like I'm trying to design for like, what's a project that could be like an acupuncture like prick within kind of a community, but also the consciousness of the people. So we're really creating a context that invites people to build their skills and capacities and also shift their identities. And so one of the features of the Spark Makerspace and also the ReInspire project that we're working on is that it's cooperatively organized. And so everyone is kind of showing up like as a member owner and not as like a customer or an employee. So that's like a really important thing in my mind. So I moved down to New London nearly 3 years ago after completing an MBA program studying sustainable systems. I had kind of realized, I'm an entrepreneur and I really wanted to build my capacities to be effective in helping groups of people and kind of learn the language of business, but as a vehicle to do good things in the world. And so when I moved down here, I thought that I wanted to work on a loan fund. I'm very curious about money. I think of money as like a social technology, that it's like a system that humans like invented and we've inherited. And so a lot of the work that I do is really kind of trying to help get in right relationship with money, become more sophisticated in our use of this tool that actually does a lot of damage. So
as it's organized in our society.
As it's currently organized, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it took a little while when you move to a new place to kind of get grounded and learn the lay of the land. And during that time, I was kind of working on lots of different kind of like side projects. But it was really I was really ready to dig into something. And but I love I love working with individuals and groups and helping kind of like manifest potential. Like I think that everyone is amazing and most people are not doing what they're amazing at. And so some of the dynamics that I'm trying to play with are like how to create a context that helps invite people to kind of like show up to do what they're really interested in doing, what they're talented at doing, and like creating an alignment between like who people are and what the world needs. That is for like individuals and groups. So that is kind of like part of like the underlying context that we're trying to create with Spark and ReInspire. That like it is Spark is certainly going to be helpful for people who just want to work on their own projects. But there's also going to be a lot of like group projects that may lead to new businesses getting started that are kind of cooperatives within this larger cooperative. So. One thing that I want to also highlight is that as I've been kind of doing what looks like organizational development work, helping individuals and groups start these projects, and also working with some existing organizations. I'm on the steering committee for the Connecticut Food System Alliance, and I'm just present to a larger network of people who like to like make things happen and get things done, and those I love those conversations and being helpful in this way of thinking about how to improve things. And I've really through that work come to kind of see that work as kind of facilitating metamorphosis. Like I've become very like enamored with the biological process of metamorphosis as kind of like a pattern that is like reverberates throughout the natural world that humans are a part of.
So metamorphosis, transitioned here from being small m to capital M.
In a sense.
So metamorphosis is where things started? Anyway, you have a slide here. It says metamorphosis, and I will. Now, is this? Tell me about this group.
Well, this is, so Spark and ReInspire are really work that I'm doing that are based in, New London and southeastern Connecticut. Metamorphosis is a larger collaborative with other people who I've met who are doing similar work of making kind of transformative paradigm shifting projects happen in their respective places, kind of that have the potential to facilitate metamorphosis through kind of helping bring people together in a way that really manifests like the amazing potential of individuals and groups to be making a contribution in their respective places. And so, as I was saying, really, like, I find the biological process really instructive, like kind of the certain stages. And when the caterpillar, after going through this period of like hyperconsumption and hypergrowth, goes inside its chrysalis, and there's these imaginal cells that wake up that are previously totally dormant, and they begin to like break down its own tissue and then build it up into the butterfly that then emerges, same creature, new form, now able to kind of fulfill its role as a pollinator and a reproducer. And so I think that like the metamorphosis narrative and frame is this higher level way of understanding what we currently call like change management, or like, we recognize that there's a lot that's not working, and we want to change it. And I think that I'm like, through this metamorphosis project, which is like a national collaborative of like these other people who are doing what we are calling imaginal work in the world, this work of like really helping like be like kind of like hospice and midwife, this like meta transition that's happening. Like there's like a dominant kind of like public narrative about the world kind of like headed for like in crisis, headed for collapse with like climate change and like crises in like
peak
finance.
resources.
Peak resources. The financial system, healthcare, education. And kind of our premise is, what if instead of collapse, we're actually in chrysalis? And that the dissolution of a lot of what we know and how things work is actually like, even though it's painful, it may not be a bad sign. It may just be part of a larger process of humanity kind of waking up and growing up. Maturing into kind of manifesting its potential to really discover the like right appropriate role that we can be playing as like animals on this earth, embedded in something that's like larger than us, these natural systems that have a lot of intelligence. And so metamorphosis is like a home for kind of this community of practice of other people who are doing imaginal work in the world. And there's a lot of collaborations that we'll be doing together as this kind of network grows. But I'm being supported by these people who I find so inspiring in the work that I'm doing here and helping to facilitate. And I do want to also say, with this work of Spark and ReInspire, there's so many amazing people who I'm working with in New London, and Mabel is one of them. But with Spark, the way that was generated is about a year ago. There was this Community Conspire event that I facilitated, right? In which I invited people to come with community serving ideas and just jam on them. Let's just share some ideas about things that would be really revitalizing to our community. And there were breakout groups to work on them, and then people came back together, shared them, and there was a vote, and the winning project got the money from the door, my project management support, to carry it forward. And so I've been working with community members over the last year on what won that night was a makerspace and tool lending library. And so it's been
so that really came out of that process.
That came out of that process of and for me it is part of this process of metamorphosis, that was coalescing the energy. And I've been working as part of a team, facilitating kind of like this discovery growth process with some morphology over time, and we're about to emerge. The makerspace is set to have kind of a soft open in January, and we're getting really close to accepting working members, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot that I can say about that.
Okay, and this is your space.
This is the space, yeah.
And everyone will remember it, and the sign reminds us that it was the old Elegy, which had been a club off and on for, 25, 35 years, but really hadn't done much in the last couple of years. So, but you had quite a hunt through downtown New London to find the right spot,
yeah,
right?
It certainly took us longer than we thought it was going to, but we're so pleased with the LNG location and site for so many reasons. It's really kind of a blank canvas inside, except for this commercial kitchen, which is really we find very valuable. A lot of people in the community are really excited about that.
Yeah, it is a great space also. What's happening there? I know when I was last there, the kitchen looks great, but other than that, it was a pretty blank room. So what's happening here?
Yeah. This was a work day in which someone just showed up with a brand new workbench. And we put that together. And we've been, over the course of the last month, the kind of working in sequence with different projects to get the space ready, and that has looked like a lot of painting, putting in a shop floor, kind of a floating floor over the dance floor to kind of protect that. And next up is like building out a wall. So that will separate kind of the dirty activities in the back with the shop from keeping the front, which includes the kitchen, clean. So we've got we do work days most Saturdays, from 12 to 5. And not going to have one this week with Thanksgiving, but the rest of the Saturdays in December from 12 to 5. So
any Saturday afternoon, if someone wants to come,
there
will be people there and work to do.
And we've got Casey Moran is kind of the manager, director of operations for the makerspace, kind of a first staff person who's there Monday through Saturday, 12 to 5, and it's Wednesdays and Friday, it's until 7. So he's there doing projects and ready to receive people who are bringing donations. So, kind of like one of the things that's happening now is like as we're getting closer, we're ready to like put to be receiving donations, and now that we have a place. So, how we are designing Spark is really as this collaborative community. And, that there are several kind of like what I'm, think of as like innovations within the like business model of makerspace that we're playing with. And one of them really is to organize it as a cooperative, even though we're legally structuring Spark as a nonprofit, and it's very mission-based, dedicated to building resourcefulness for individuals and community. We are organizing ourselves to run cooperatively, and so there's kind of a few different classes of members. Working members who will be contributing at $30 a month, and regular members at $55 a month. And then once we get that system in order, we'll be opening up to business members. But we're really trying to establish like a high bar for culture, like a culture of collaboration and sharing. And so working members will be signing up to not just work a shift to be present at the reception desk or lead a training, but also lead a lot of the programming is going to be member-led. So skill sharing classes and because I really, as I said before, believe in kind of the inherent potential of everyone as being like amazing in specific ways, we're really excited to try to curate some of those working member roles according to kind of the gifts, talents, and availabilities of people in the community. And so that's like a way that people will be able to engage with Spark, but not required. People can also just be regular members and pay to have access. But we are really in trying to, like and Erica with the ReInspire project that really is kind of like going into this like social experiment of like how can we create a dynamic together where we're really encouraging people to share themselves according to their gifts and their talents, and like in a way that unlocks a spirit of generosity.
And I want to let people know that you are official. In New London, any change of use in the downtown area neighborhood is you need a special permit from Planning and Zoning. And I'm on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and people were so enthusiastic. And it happened that Hannah was not at that meeting. You were out of town, and there were a few other people presenting. John was, and Casey.
John Curran and Casey Moran and George Ryan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was very non-controversial. Everyone thought it would be a great addition to the downtown. And when the vote came down unanimously to grant this permit, people clapped. And it was like the first time, and I have only been on planning and zoning for a year, so I didn't know if this happens or not periodically, but the chairman of the commission said it was the first time in like 12 years he had ever seen an application, receive applause at the end of it. So I think New London is really ready for it. We're not, the people on the commission, the people in the audience, they're not, they're just, mainstream New Londoners, and they just were really excited about it.
Yeah, and I want to bring us back to like this metaphor of acupuncture, right? That like I think New London is ripe for this. Like New London is a center for arts and culture and creativity. New London is, and the larger southeastern Connecticut region is home to EB and Pfizer with like machinists and engineers, history of manufacturing. So, Spark really is being kind of designed with great intention to jumpstart like entrepreneurship and cooperative business development in ways that are like really helping the people who live here, ourselves, residents here, to build our skills and capabilities to start to really like create our own opportunities. So as I said, we're trying to set a high bar for culture, really figure out what it means to be a working member. But we're certainly excited about designing Spark and ReInspire with this strong aspect of business incubation and starting new businesses that are kind of cooperative in nature, although that's not like required. That's something that I'm interested in. So that's they won't be exclusively cooperative, but I'm definitely really interested in like the social enterprise of like how can we start projects that are really kind of taking care of our place, and that part of the business model here that we're really experimenting with is this collaborative community. As I said before, like part of what's innovative about Spark is being a cooperative, but there's other aspects as well, and really understanding this not just about like having like the functionality of a makerspace, but like recognizing that it's fundamentally about helping create the conditions for people to learn and to do things together. And so there's 86 Golden Street at the LNG is where the makerspace is.
And this is how the space is evolving.
Yep.
Great logo.
Yeah. Made the logo on hatchwise.com, which is George's business, the logo design contest company. He's based in Pawcatuck, but Hatchwise has designed over 1 million logos. So this is rolling out the floor, putting the rubber down, and next up is building out a wall there. But if you move forward to ReInspire, we can show you 13 Golden Street. So this is just half a block away. 86 is where the makerspace is Spark, and 13 is kind of home to this ReInspire project, but And we're still kind of like feeling out what the boundaries are between Spark and ReInspire, but they're projects that I've been working on, both of them kind of, and there's a lot of like symbiosis and synergy there, and they've been kind of co-evolving as sister projects. And 13 Golden Street has these 2 storefronts and 2 spaces in back, and so part of what is going to be on offer there is like a co-working side of this community, and so that's shared meeting space, office space, classroom space. And so as I was saying before, part of what I really want to highlight is that what we're creating the conditions for is for community to come together, to collaborate, to learn, and to do things together, and that it's not just about the being hands-on creative with the makerspace, it's also about the knowledge-based work that happens in co-working. So part of the innovation is really meshing together makerspace and co-working.
Now, Maple, you didn't come as far as the West Coast to here,
No.
but you came because of involvement with ReInspire, correct? Or
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Well, tell us how you got
okay, so
how you got here.
Well, I am from Central Connecticut. I grew up in Middletown and East Hampton. Went to UConn. I studied a lot of art at UConn, and I was pretty much thinking I was going to be a teacher. I ended up being a farmer, and that's how I met Hannah several years ago. Hannah approached me about 6 months ago. We've been friends since then, and said, I have this working project happening, the Spark Makerspace, and also this entity of ReInspire. And really, she was telling me about it and asked me what I thought about it. I thought it was fabulous. I mean, the idea of everybody is amazing and that we are not doing amazing things necessarily in our lives. Lots of people feel stagnant in their life. They're not really happy. If you're able to do what you do well, then you're going to feel better. There's a domino effect within our community that actually happens. Mm-hmm. Just that statement alone had me hooked. Learning more about what ReInspire is going to be has been extremely appealing to me. To be able to help community, our motto is breathing new life into community. So we're bringing people in that could might want to learn something, might want to collaborate, but also in a community effort, a group healing and in a healing atmosphere that is also inspirational.
Now, one of the means to getting to this place in ReInspire is upcycling, correct?
Definitely.
So maybe explain what upcycling is and what kind of experience it is.
You take something that's old, or something that's used, and you might cut it up and make it into something new. It could be that you take some donated fabric or fabric from old clothing, and you might cut it into strips and make baskets out of it. You might make a scrap quilt out of it. You take a sweater that has a hole in it and you unravel the whole sweater and you have new yarn to be able to work with and make a quilt out of to be able to donate to possibly the homeless shelter. I mean, but taking something and making it something new is kind of like a metamorphosis of an item. So so not only upcycling items, but also upcycling yourself, in a way. Being able to be inspired maybe by the neighbor that is crafting, that's sewing next to you or knitting next to you, and being able to be present, be able to hear and learn, and maybe actually launch yourself into another way that you never thought you'd be able to do, just because you have the accessibility to resources, or as in tools or people. So being able to create this community, this community space that will be able to help launch you in your most amazing way is really
Now, what sort of specific projects or activities have there been? Going on at the 13 Golden Street location?
Well, we have a weekly meeting that we gather together, and this is the core group of that started ReInspire, and but generally, so at that point we've been, we have a couple hours. We're making something from something, so we're upcycling at that moment. And we are also being present for each other, and listening to our friends of concern or celebrations. We have a calendar that for the month of December of activities of some open house times. Come learn about ReInspire and learn how the basics of a sewing machine or knitting or embroidery. So we have some dates that we'll be posting that are specific gathering times to be able to learn more about a specific activity, but also specifically about ReInspire and Spark.
Well, let us know when those dates are so we can publicize them. So it sounds like a good way for people to build community without sitting in meetings.
Right. I mean, I think part of what we're trying to do is create a context in which people are enjoying one another's company and doing something kind of productive, but also having casual conversation within this kind of. We are forming, ReInspire has also formed as a kind of cooperative, and it's a different structure than Spark, which has kind of the working members and the regular members. Like ReInspire has kind of like a core group of members who are really interested in in doing things that benefit the community, but that also are have kind of like a breathing life into therapeutic effect. And so, that's going to, what we've kind of discovered, it really did start with like the upcycling. And over time, as we've kind of like moved through that, we've kind of discovered that like upcycling feels like one manifestation of ReInspire. And so we're definitely moving forward with this kind of like arm of ReInspire that is creating space for upcycling, and this did start as a craft group at the Homeless Hospitality Center. So like that drive to create a space for kind of like healing has been a part of this since the beginning, and part of the interest there has been, can we actually, while we're together, do some things that are productive and develop some product lines to sell. So that initially has really been part of ReInspire, but as we've moved into the space at 13 Golden Street, which is these kind of has like nearly 3,000 square feet, that can be a shared space for other activities. And so there's kind of two storefronts. The one on the left is really kind of a workspace, and the front of it will be retail, and the one on the right is kind of like a meeting space, event space. And so there might be movie nights there. With discussion. There might be potlucks. There might be, Maple's going to be, as she said, holding some open hours, but other members of the ReInspire community, as that grows, could be holding, using that space to do other things, kind of like a community center, but with like this shared expectation of being like generous and showing up and sharing according to your like what you're interested in and what you're gifted at, and so that people could be people and organizations again. Like we're trying to like first establish this as something that is accessible for individuals, and let's figure out like how this works and what this is, and then we'll be like opening it up to businesses and organizations so that a nonprofit in the community might be a member of ReInspire, and then they can access that meeting space, kind of like there's going to be a calendar where you can book that, and we have like a couple of different spaces that can be used for conference or event space, as well as having part of the build out plan at 13 Golden Street will include creating a space that's really kid friendly, and having kind of a kitchenette set up so that for those events it can be really custom designed for people to show up with their whole selves and with their families if need be, and like that is that we really are trying to create this context that invites people to really show up with their full selves.
Now, you mentioned that it started at the Homeless Hospitality Center.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have people, guests of the Homeless Hospitality Center, continued involvement with your move to a new space?
Often, yeah, a little bit more in the beginning. There's been this project has been in development for a while, and I'm, feel really excited that Maple has more recently stepped into making it happen more. Because I've been kind of a central figure in this project in Spark, and I really, my work, as I understand it, is really trying to create opportunities for other people to step into leadership. And so the development of ReInspire has been a little bit slower than maybe than other projects I've worked on in the past, which I think has some, the benefit of giving us the time to really discover a deeper sense of the potential of what this is. But it has also meant that there's been a lot of members who've kind of come in and out of it. And so, and so yes, there are some who are still involved, but we've kind of lost some. But part of what we're going to be doing as we get more established isn't just at 13 Golden Street. Many of the people who helped to start ReInspire, really are showed up because they wanted that this opportunity to be helpful and facilitative to people who are kind of transitioning out of homelessness or in that place. And so, we've got ideas for getting back to HHC to be doing kind of mending days, since many of the people are really skilled in fiber arts, and so that there's programming in development there.
Now, Maple, what are you thinking, looking into the not so far future of ReInspire? What can people expect to be seeing over the next 4 to 6 months?
Oh, I think that we're going to have a great calendar of gathering events that will probably have a theme for, time slots that people can come and gather and learn or teach or share about a specific activity or idea. It could be wrapped around ideas instead of a tangible craft item. But I think that we are going to be creating an atmosphere where how do you thrive and how can your neighbor be, and the neighbor listen on what helps you thrive, what can you offer, how can we help each other in a way that's going to be really amazing. So I'm sewing, learning how to sew, learning how to knit, learning how, a potluck that involves a specific activity, could be family orientated or not. We will have a kid-friendly area, so if you do bring family, it will be easy for them to be comfortable.
We do have a few things on the calendar right now. So, for the month of December, there's kind of open craft hours on Wednesdays from 1 to 4, and Fridays from 11 to 2.
Can people just drop in, or
People
do you
can
ask
just drop
people
in.
To pre-register? Or
No, although
just-
they can. I mean, these are all going to be, right now, ReInspire doesn't have its own website, and there's so much kind of crossover between Spark and ReInspire that it's been fine
Right.
to just use the Spark site.
And the fact that the two places are half a block away from
Right,
each other
and there's
probably
just so
makes
much overlap
it easy
between the
to
communities.
go
So
back
people
and
can
forth.
go to spark.coop, that's spark.coop, to check out the list of events and calendaring. We also we have on the ReInspire side, are planning to do a cookie swap heading into like the holiday season. So that is Tuesday, December 15th from 5 to 8. Bring what is it?
Bring a dozen packages of cookies. Like bring like six packs of of cookies. Maybe make a dozen of them, and then you would go home with a dozen different packages of cookies. So it's kind of a neat way to only make one batch of cookies, but you get to go home with a variety.
Now, I'm intrigued about the sort of local manufacturing aspect of it, from everything from baking cookies to, using heavy equipment.
Right.
Because, you mentioned some of the current manufacturing that goes on in New London now, but if you look back 150 years ago at our old factory buildings, I mean, shoes were made. There was a silk factory. There was a different leather factory. There were factories, small factory buildings all over the place in New London 100 years ago. There was an ironworks down near where the current police station is. And it seems as though our economy was a lot more stable and predictable when we had a lot of the manufacturing right here.
Right.
So I love the idea of just starting to nurture that kind of thing here, because as we look into a future which you've noted is full of potential calamities, being able to create here what we use every day can really make a difference in our quality of life.
Yeah, and what happens when we organize those as cooperatives? It's just another layering that increases like security, really centering the locus of ownership in the people who are doing the work. And so that's definitely something that we are dedicated to with Spark and ReInspire, and that there is this aspect of starting businesses that is kind of built into the design. And so, and another kind of innovation in the model of like how we're trying to do this and kind of unlock that potential is not just like this shared equipment with the makerspace and the like shared like talent of like and kind of the human resources of the community through working members and ReInspire, but also this is something that I'm really interested in as someone who has studied business and finance, is establishing internally a development fund that we can, as a community, utilize to resource the collective projects that we're working on, so that we might be having, quarterly design challenge events in which, much like I did with Community Conspire, where it's come with an idea that's going to serve the community, and out of that we're going to have our project for the year, the next cooperative business that we start as a community within this cooperative setting, utilizing our shared resources of the equipment, of the people, and then seeding it with money that we collectively share, so that if the projects that we start are profitable, that creates almost like an equity stake in the businesses that get started. So a percentage of net income will come back in to kind of cycle in and replenish that pool of funds. So it's a little bit different from a loan fund in which money is lent and principal plus interest is needs to be repaid monthly. So this is like principal doesn't have to be paid back. It's just a percentage of income coming back over time. And we're not, it's not like, it looks a little bit similar to how venture capital is organized, but within this community, we're never going to need to sell to get our investment back, because what we're really trying to do is generate kind of this collective wealth that is like beyond financial, this like genuine wealth of like improving the place. And so my kind of like vision with what is possible here is that through starting some businesses together, we can not just create our own livelihood opportunities, but we can grow that pool of funds large enough to then be able to do other things together besides continue to start businesses. So part of what I think is possible then is buying property and fixing that up and installing some of these businesses that you're referencing. So it creates this dynamic in which the residents who live in a place are able to like create their own livelihood opportunities in a way that is revitalizing the place. So this is kind of like the medium-term plan in what to me feels like a design challenge of like how can we help New London and southeastern Connecticut really revitalize in a way that avoids gentrification. That seems like totally possible. Like I think like having moved here just a couple of years ago, like New London has like kind of a rough reputation that is like so unwarranted. If you ask me, like I love living here. It's been great for so many reasons, and every place like has some problems, but my quality of life here is so high, and I think relative to other places, shoreline Connecticut, it's very affordable. So how can we like, but like it's like kind of feels like a best kept secret, and how can we like, so part of this work with Spark and ReInspire is like trying to create a dynamic that helps that ascension to happen in a way that like floats everybody's boat.
And I have to tell you, we only have about 4 minutes left.
Okay.
But I think it's actually to New London's advantage in some ways, the reputation it has, because since we don't get much in the way of big box stores wanting to locate here, it seems to me there's a lot more potential for small family-owned businesses, which actually
Absolutely.
keep the wealth circulating here much better than a big chain would.
Yeah.
I have one quick question, and 2 minutes. What are the long-term plans for the second story of the Elegy building?
The second story?
Yeah.
Well, it's likely that's going to open up and be available to us in the new year, and we would very much like to be able to put the digital media lab up there and have studio space for artists. That like many maker spaces are home to lots of artists and small businesses that kind of co-locate, and so the second story is definitely like something that we would like to move into once it becomes available, and
Sure.
that may happen within a few months, but it just depends on like whether we can do the fundraising. Like we're actually kind of like entering a fundraising season for Spark, and that part of the way that this has worked up to now is with the Metamorphosis project that I'm a part of. There's a development fund there that we've been accessing some financial capital to just seed these projects before they really know what they are and can kind of like emerge, and provides like a little bit of like a cushion for the morphology that happens early on. But and Spark actually is part of this Connecticut Next Partners program that we got a $20,000 matching grant from the state, but we access that money when we match it. And so I want to encourage everybody, if you're like excited about this idea, go to the spark.coop website. On that landing page is a donate button that is a tax-deductible donation through, we have fiscal sponsorship right now with New London Main Street. And so we've got some events coming up. December 7th, I'm going to be kind of, that's at 6 p.m. at 86 Golden Street. It's a Monday night, December 7th, where we're going to be taking turns as kind of the core group of Spark, telling the story of Spark through our own experience, and I'm going to kind of kick that off. But it's also just kind of an open house opportunity in which we'll be talking more specifically about ways to support Spark, and with the donation of like equipment, but also donation of money, since we need that support to really be able to grow and operate. So it's an exciting time, and I'm really inviting everybody to feel part of it, and that like some of the way to feel part of is by giving.
Well, thank you both. We're out of time. People can find out more at the spark.coop website. And once again, we're going to spend the rest of the month talking about ways that people can use this giving season to make a difference and not just buy stuff.
Nice.
So next week, our guest will be Andy Durr and maybe some other members of the All Souls Grace Growing Racial and Cultural Equity Group, talking about pushing back against racism. So until then, have a great week, and thank you again, Mabel and Hannah.
Yeah,
Thank
happy
you.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were lying, I just think you were trying to see what I would do if you could make me love you. You tore out my heart, you ripped me